Hi everybody. I know this review is really late. I know I'm really behind on this movie, but this I know this movie is like 2 months old at this point, but I finally got to see Oppenheimer last night at 5. It was a pretty long movie, and I was gonna review it last night, but time just got ahead. But not that you guys care. So finally, I get to talk about Oppenheimer. So the plot of this movie is this guy named J. Robert Oppenheimer, played by Cillian Murphy, is this guy who studies science, and he even decides to drop out of his science class. And years later, during World War II, he decides to use this to his advantage, to use his knowledge of science to develop nuclear weapons. So he throughout the time he starts, analyzing a bunch of formulas to find out like if enough material would be good enough to make an atomic bomb, or even testing out such a weapon that could be used during the war. So you don't really see much of the war stuff. It's all about the history behind the atomic bomb. So the whole movie's about him testing out the bomb and seeing if it's a good enough uh, weapon to use for such a really hard time during the World War II. So you see his history of how he's developed such a revolutionary weapon, with that being the atomic bomb. Yep, I finally saw. I know I was really late to the party, and no, I didn't do the Barbenheimer because I already saw Barbie opening night, and when the day I saw Barbie, I only had time for one movie, so I didn't have enough. And how is this movie? It's really good. Yeah, this was a really good movie. It was great seeing a different kind of war film. Like I do I've been getting into the war genre pretty recently. I haven't seen a heck of a lot of them, but I think they're really good to watch. I think they're really fascinating. I think they're really interesting. Like they do have a lot of action just to keep you entertained, but it's still pretty neat just seeing what the time was like back then. And this is kind of like that, where you get to see a different side of war films. Like this movie is not action oriented. Like just real, if you're going into this movie expecting a war film, or like there are explosions, but that's it. Like most of it just testing bombs. It's mostly the drama and the science that's really the big factor in this movie, because lots of it revolves around the politics during World War II, and lots of it is about the discovery of all the science behind the atomic bomb and what made it so revolutionary and what made it such a new concept. So that really was interesting to see. I thought it was cool seeing a World War II movie that was more about leading up to the events, instead of just seeing, a bunch of soldiers on the battlefield like every other movie, which that's not bad, but it's just, if we want to know more about World War II, like it's good to see like some more aspects, because I know there's those people who are really fascinated with World War II. So I think a movie like this is needed for like those kind of people, and even just casual viewers who just want to know what the time was like back then in the 1930s and 40s. So it was really neat to see. And lots of the movie is in black and white. Oh, like some of the, I guess you see in the trailer, like there's some shots that are in black and white, but the movie's not really like that. It's kind of an inconsistent thing. I think it kind of would have been cool if the whole thing was black and white, just to get that really authentic feel of that this was during World War II. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I think that was the intention. It was more of an artistic direction, but it was interesting. Like I don't think I've ever seen a movie do something like this, so I do give it credit. And it was pretty neat. And if you're wondering, no, I did not see this in IMAX. I wanted to, but especially my older brother. My older brother really wanted to see this movie, but he didn't come with me, and he only wanted to see it in IMAX, and I didn't see it in IMAX. But to be honest, it doesn't really need to be. I'm sure like the scope and spectacle really looked good, but it's not very action oriented. Like I said, it's not very in your face. So I guess you don't need to see it in IMAX, but if you really want to, like, I'd say go ahead. It's probably cool to see. Um, yeah, and it's just cool to see, a movie that's kind of more about the world of World War II, and kind of more about the events leading up to it. Like, it was good seeing, like I said, a different side of it. Cillian Murphy plays Oppenheimer, and I know he's in every Christopher Nolan movie, so and I think this is the only thing I've seen where he's played the lead role, and I do think he was well cast. I think I know he's a weird looking guy. He's pretty ugly. Like he's not the best looking guy, but to be fair, like he does you can tell he really plays like a very intelligent scientist. Like he's very determined. Like it's pretty much like every other Christopher Nolan movie where most of it's just exposition and dialogue. There's not really they they really like to explain things a lot in this movie. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why Christopher Nolan decided to do a movie like this where it's about the aspects and world of when it came to World War II and not just the action. I know he made Dunkirk, but that was a different kind of thing. So this movie was more about the dialogue and more about the build up to World War II. So it was good to see like what the science was back then and what led up to it, and it was pretty neat. And I think Cillian Murphy really was should try and do another lead role sometime because I've only most things I've seen him in he's just side characters. I don't think any other Nolan films he was a lead character, and I know he was in A Quiet Place Part Two, but he wasn't the lead in that. And speaking of A Quiet Place, Emily Blunt is also in the movie, and yeah, she's in the movie a fair amount. Like you know how when this movie was in production, every single like 20 minutes they announced a new actor. Most of them are just cameos. Like Josh Peck, he was only in it I think for like one scene. He was only in it for like maybe I don't know 10 seconds. Devin Bostick was barely in it. Who else? Matt Damon. It wasn't actually a good amount. Like he's not in until like maybe like I don't know 40 minutes in, but it has a really really good cast. It's not all of them have their moments to shine, but it was really good seeing all these people like such an ensemble cast. But it doesn't really bother me because you really want to focus on Oppenheimer because he's really the character that you really most want to know about. Like you really want to know how the bomb was made. You want to know what his theories were. You want to know it's his story. Like if you want to see a movie about Oppenheimer, you want to see Oppenheimer. So it was a really neat movie. I thought it was very very interesting. It was definitely a visual spectacle even when it's not very effects driven. I thought it was really good. It's especially like if you just want to because most World War II movies I've seen, like lots of them are just the actual war. Like I really liked seeing what was leading up to it. I liked seeing different aspects of it because wars like they had purpose. People had their motivations, and one of them being the development of the bomb. So I really liked the direction they went there, and it was a really good movie. Is this in my top 10 of the year currently? Well, nah, I wouldn't say so. And I know people are gonna ask, did I prefer this or Barbie? Well, I guess as a movie, this one I guess was kind of more well made. Like it definitely was more artsy. Like it's very appreciative, and I can understand why people would prefer it. But on the other hand, Barbie was unlike anything I've ever seen, and it still was well made. Like it was very good. Like as I said in my review, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to compare because they're both totally different movies, and I respect them in their own ways. So, and when I get to my top 10 of the year, at the end of this year, I guess I'll choose if either of them are in my top 10. But Oppenheimer is a really good movie. I'm really glad I saw it. It was, of course, like if you want to see war movies be more action focused and focusing on the actual events, I don't know if this would be the movie for you, but I think it's really good if you want to see something different, and especially if you don't really know the history of atomic bombs. I think it's pretty cool to see all the science behind it. So yeah, Oppenheimer, it was really good. I'm glad I finally got to see this. I mean, it wasn't an IMAX, like I said, but hey, I still had a good experience. That's all that should matter. So if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, I definitely recommend it. I think it's a really good film. And for the trailers, I got Wonka. Could be good. Uh, Willy Wonka's a character like we all know him and we all love him. Like he's one of the first characters that we've probably known since we were kids. Maybe not because I was probably like 4 when I saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't see the Gene Wilder one until years later, but it looks pretty good. The Timothy, whatever his name is, he looks like he could be a good choice for a young Willy Wonka. So I'm pretty interested in it. I got Migration. I mean, I know this movie came out the same day as Oppenheimer came out the same day as Barbie. And Barbie, I at least understand because at least, there's probably more kids that would be interested in Barbie. But why was this shown before Oppenheimer? Whatever. Migration looks good. I love the animation. I really love the voice cast. It could be entertaining. So I'll probably see this when it's out. I got Dune Part 2. Oh man, I have to wait so long. It could have come out in a few weeks, but oh well. What can you do? It still looks like it'll be a great experience, so I really hope it's worth the wait. So, Dune Part 2, I'm really excited for. And I got the Marvels. From what I've heard, I mean, the first Captain Marvel was fine. I still enjoyed it for what it was. This one, it just seems like from what they've announced, it just sounds like every superhero movie nowadays, focusing on comedy. Even the Power Switch. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is based on a specific comic run, but they already did the power switching thing in Rise of the Silver Surfer, so a lack of originality much, but or like I said, maybe that was inspired by a specific comic run. But please, can we for once, besides the Batman, or I mean Black Adam, I guess took itself seriously for the most part. Can't we, and even Wakanda Forever, can we for once have a superhero movie that isn't a comedy? Can we get serious superhero movies anymore? Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, the first Captain Marvel, I liked it for what it was. At least it was for the most part serious. But the Marvels, yeah, from what I'm hearing, it really doesn't sound like it'll be something I'm optimistic for. So, yeah. But Oppenheimer, it was really good. I'm really glad I finally got to see it, and I bet this will be huge during awards season. So, next year when the Oscars come, I'll definitely be glad to watch them again, just like I did this year. So, yeah, Oppenheimer's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, which I'm pretty sure most people have, because it's becoming a gigantic hit, which for a biographical war drama, it's impressive the amount of money it's making. So I say go support it because it's a really good film. So that's my review of Oppenheimer. Finally, I know it took so long, but I'll see you later.